Okay, this is like part 9 of the Best of the West in Art, Music, Movies, and Books by me, Pete Rogers. Your historical legacy, here it is, a free college education. All right, Patrick Henry quote: "It cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was not founded by religionists, but by Christians." That's an important point. The founding fathers are telling you this is a Christian nation founded by Christians. It was not founded on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. It is when people forget God that the tyrants forge their chains. The Bible is worth all the books that have ever been printed. And that's an important point. This is well known in the Old Testament. The people turn their back on God. God turns his back on them. The West is turning its back on God. And unless they change that tune, they're just going to keep going down all the way into slavery. It's a fact. This is well known. I just wish everybody realized it. It's like the smart people know this, but how many people are smart? You know, was that 10% of the population? It takes more than 10% of the population to maintain freedom in a society. Most people don't even know what the difference is between freedom and slavery. They say they do, but then they vote for slavery. Okay, and so if you vote for slavery, that means you don't know. Okay, the best DVD history course on the founding of the USA is David Barton's American Heritage Collection. Okay. And he's going to tell you backwards and forwards about how the United States was founded as a Christian nation. It's well known by anybody who really studies it and wants to tell you the truth. They specifically rewrote history to trick everybody in the public schools and make them think America's not a Christian nation. Best poem about the founding fathers would be Paul Revere's Ride by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Okay, who's the best United States president ever? Andrew Jackson. Okay, study Andrew Jackson. You'll love him once you study him, okay? Public schools are going to badmouth the guy because he was a badass, okay? He's not one of these modern feminized scumbags who destroys the country. He did a lot to make the country a better place. So, you want to see American history? Look him up. Scots-Irish guy. This is a painting of him from 1819 by Rembrandt Peale. Okay, what is the best Christian symbol? I think it's the Celtic cross. So the Celtic cross is strongly associated with Ireland, and the Celtic is a good part of Christianity. Okay, the circle that connects the side arms of the cross is kind of like the sun. It's also like a halo of holiness. You can put a 3-leaf clover there, symbol of the Trinity in the center of it. So this is very big in Ireland. I like it because it's sturdy. As a matter of fact, I got one around here. One sec, I'll show it to you. I got one in my office right here. It's kind of a Celtic cross. All right, so I got other crosses. Here's one I got. Where the heck is the one I got as a present from Mexico by a friend of mine? Ah, there it is. Out, unclean spirit. Okay, there it is. The Celtic cross. All right, I'm going to show you a little bit more symbolism of Christianity. The cross, of course, symbolizes the sacrifice of Christ for mankind. The vertical points up to heaven. The horizontal symbolizes earth. Heaven and earth meet in the center as the center of the world. The 4 endpoints of the Christ and the center make the 5 points, like the 5 wounds of Christ. You know, the wound in the side. And then the hands and the feet. Okay, the 5 wounds of Christ. That's a painting, Christ on the Cross, by Diego Velázquez, 1632. The cross is also called the tree of life. That replaced the tree of death, from Adam and Eve with original sin. Paradise lost and paradise regained. We lost paradise when Adam and Eve were booted out for having disobeyed God, eating the apple. It's regained in the sense that Christ gave you another chance with crucifixion and the resurrection. The circle is also a symbol for the crown of thorns placed on Christ. Okay, when he was taken in by Pontius Pilate, there's the Christ crown of thorns by Caravaggio, and that's been a symbol also for followers of Christ. The crown of thorns here is St. Catherine of Siena wearing that crown. Also is a symbol that for a nun, a sister, woman of the convent, that she's a bride of Christ. Okay, she did things like stayed behind to help the people during the plague in Italy, and that's what's been found repeatedly. The Catholics, more so than any other group of people in the whole world, they do more charity, they do more nice stuff for other people. Okay. And there was also, Martin Luther himself admitted, he said, what have I done? The Catholics are so much more generous and kind than are the Protestants. Because if you're Protestant, you tell somebody all you got to do is have faith, and then you're saved. Whereas Catholic, like the Book of James, yes, you have to have faith, but you also have to do good deeds. It's not enough to just believe in God. You have to also, Do nice things for other people, okay? Be a good person. And Christianity, nothing honors women more than Christianity, Catholicism. Mary's the queen of heaven, the mother of God, okay? She's the pinnacle of everything. And I can tell you, my mom was an old devout Catholic. She was the queen, the matriarch of everything. All these modern women are a bunch of stupid idiots in comparison with my mother. My mother, there'd be like 100 and something people at our house on Mother's Day versus these modern women. They're all divorced and alone. Their kids are pissed off at them with their cats. Okay, back in the old day, Mama was the queen of the family, okay? Papa obeyed her, all right? All right, let's see, here's Christ. Let's see, with the halo, you can see that. Like the halo with the cross. Christ the Consolator by Carl Bloch, 1890. Note the halo similar to the Celtic cross. Okay, Pythagoreans celebrated the sunrise. To some extent, I can tell you, the paganism didn't just disappear from Rome once Constantine gave official sanction to the Catholic Church, around 312 AD. Paganism was still strong, and Constantine still supported the pagans, had many in his administration, and paganism was still pretty strong going into the late 500s, okay? And the Catholics, they didn't just push paganism out, they sort of adopted it and adapted the people in. And a lot of times, the leaders of a community would become Catholics, and then gradually the rest of the other people would too over the course of centuries. Pagan kind of means like pagano, which kind of means like, country person, country bumpkin person, okay? Here's Christ on the cross. Mary's, got the blue to symbolize Queen of Heaven, the red, the sadness of Christ. They'll often show Mary and John. John was then, one of the disciples who later, helped take care of Mary after Christ, had the ascension. Here's a painting I love by Roger van der Veen from 1435. Look how magnificent this painting is. It was funded, of course, you can guess by what guild? The Archers Guild. Christ's body is like in the position of a bow and arrow, and Mary's echoes his position. Look at the sadness on Mary Magdalene. Okay, there's John. Isn't this just beautiful? The whole thing is just magnificent. And that's in 1435. I think he and Sandro Botticelli are the two best painters of the 1400s. Okay. It's just the emotion in the faces, the perfection of the bodies, it's just perfect. Okay. All right, John in red. Okay, now here's the skull at the foot of the cross, and that symbolizes Adam. Okay, a little bit symbolizes death. Christ's resurrection will symbolize life, but there's a lot of this symbolism stuff in Christianity. There's a ton of it. Okay. I just figured now is as good a time as anything to go through. Golgotha means skull. Calvary also means Calvarium, another word for skull. The hill where Jesus was crucified. And a skull and bones, again, are the symbols of Adam and Eve. Okay, Adam and Eve were buried on Golgotha, and that symbolizes paradise lost. And then Christ symbolizes paradise regained. So this is the fall of Adam and Eve by Michelangelo, eating the apple cast out of Eden, cast out of paradise. Here's another version of it by James Tissot from 1896, Adam and Eve cast out of paradise. Okay. Jesus Christ sacrifice, paradise regained. This is the Chi-Rho cross. Okay, so Chi is like the X, and then the Rho is like what looks like the letter P to us. And this is Constantine. Constantine had a dream before the Battle of Milvian that he saw the Christian cross. That's the way the Christian cross was drawn at that time. And then he said, under this sign we shall conquer. The soldiers put it on their shields, and then they were victorious at Milvian. And after that, he officially sanctioned Christianity throughout the Roman Empire. He became the official emperor, unified emperor. This is the painting of it by Peter Paul Rubens. I drew over it because it's a little bit faint on the painting, and the painting is a little bit faded, so I drew over to make it more visible. You can basically just think of a letter P jammed down the center of a letter X, and that's the Chi-Rho cross. So it's pretty simple to remember. Okay. Okay. On the sides of the Chi-Rho cross, you'll sometimes see the Alpha and the Omega. That God sort of represents everything from the Alpha to the Omega. Okay. in medical schools, when I was a medical student, the top 10% of the class junior year became Alpha Omega. I think it was something like the top 20% graduates AOA. Alpha Omega Alpha, that's what it was. Okay. When you just have a cross, it's a cross. But when you have Christ on the cross, then it's called a crucifix. Okay. And the Catholics tend to prefer the crucifix with Christ on there. The Protestants tend to prefer the Latin cross alone, symbolizing the resurrection. Other symbols of the gospel, for example, are the four evangelists, like Matthew, symbolized by an angel, Mark, symbolized by a lion, Luke by an ox, John by an eagle. A good example of a cross that has an evangelist on each part is the Great Rood Cross of Westminster Cathedral in England. If you're curious, you can find pictures of it online pretty easy. Okay, this is a real nice painting of the crucifixion. And this one, you can see that the blood coming out of the wound in the side of Christ. This is Longinus, the Roman soldier who put a spear into his side. That was caught into the Holy Grail, and the Holy Grail is thought to be able to heal anything, and that's what the whole King Arthur quest for the Holy Grail was about. The good thief on the right side is the one who repented and was forgiven. The bad thief refused to repent. Okay, so not a good idea on his part. No, this one's by, I think, Gaudenzio Ferrari, 1513. Okay. All right. And Jesus said, if any of you wish to be my followers, you must give up your selfish ways, take up your cross and follow me. Yeah, it's the smart thing to do. So anyways, that's our excerpt from the book for today. Hope you enjoyed that.